Stock valuation is actually an easy process that has a large learning curve, so I thought I would do a really quick video of both types of stocks. The first one is your preferred, and the second one will be a common stock. So I'm going to just go ahead and start with the preferred stock. A preferred stock is I like the bond we did last week, and that the par value doesn't change. For instance, if you have a $40 stock par value, it'll stay at $40, and the person that purchased this will receive 4 times or 4 payments of dividends throughout the year. So for instance, if you were to try to figure out what the valuation of this thing is, you say, well, if I get, let's just say $1 per quarter, so that'd be $4 per year, and let's say that your return must be 10%, you'll find that the value of the stock is $40, because this number here represents a 10% return on your $40. And if you see here, there is no growth, so it's very similar to a bond. The only difference with the bond was this par value here was actually $1,000, and we didn't receive dividend payments. We received interest payments generally twice a year. Now, what makes stocks difficult is that they have the potential to grow. Now, there's a book written by Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and what the book's premise is that his rich dad told him to buy assets that have the potential to have some form of capital gains or growth. Also have the potential or ability to pay the owner money. And there's your stock. So you have to somehow take this model here, this formula here, back that out here, this formula here, and adapt it for a growth or a capital gain. So let's just go ahead and make up some numbers, if we will. Let's say we purchased this stock for $30. We'll call that P0. That's the price today. And just for the fun of it, let's say the P1 is $32. And let's go to put the line right here. And let's go ahead and just for instance say that the owner of this stock receives 25 cents a dividend per year. So if you take a look at this, we'll see that we receive money from 2 different ways. One, we receive $1 in dividends throughout the whole year. And number 2, we now have an asset that is appreciated by $2. So you can determine now what the return of this particular asset is. Well, the return is a combination of this percent return plus this percent return. Or in order to find out the percent return, generally it's a simple equation. I always say the last minus first divided by first, or sometimes they'll say how much you made versus what you spent. For instance, if you go to the gambling boat tonight and you spend $100 and make $200, you made $100 off a $100 investment, which is 100% return. So in this, we spent $30 to receive a $1 dividend, which that right here would equate to a 3.33% return. We also received money here. So how do we receive money here? Well, we also received $2 on your $30 investment, which is 6.67. So if you add them together, 3 divided by 30 gives me my 10% return. Except in stocks, we like to break this up into parts. So if you take a look at what we got here, we got RS equals D1 divided by P0 plus, and we have a fancy name for this. We just call this G, because that is the growth. And if you want to know how we calculate that growth, we simply do it this way. P1 minus P0 divided by P0. So $32 minus 30 divided by 30 gives me that number, gives me G. I'm going to pull this down really quick, because if we take a look at this equation here and algebraically rearrange it, we get this equation here. P0 equals D1 RS minus G, which is actually the non-growing cash flow. It's, I think, equation 9.2 in your book. Comes from this simple picture of a perfect asset. And if you're not given D0 or D1, what you do is you start with D0. You have to grow D0 and subtract the growth. So in all the problems, you have to ask yourself, are you getting D0, D1? So these problems are not hard. All you do is have to kind of, as I say, plug and chug on these problems here.